Indiana Basketball Weekly on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. As always, the Grueling Truth is powered by Betting.net. Betting.net is your best bet for finding the online casino or sportsbook that's right for you. Check them out at Betting.net. I am your co-host for the Indiana Basketball Show, Mike Goodpaster. I want to welcome in my other co-host, 1981 National Champion, 1979 NIT Champion, and all-around great guy, Steve Risley. How you doing, Steve?
Not good.
Well, I said you were a great guy. I tried to make you
I
feel
know.
better.
You try. And you left out two-time Big Ten champion.
Well, I mean, hell, I didn't know that Indiana was capable of winning those anymore. All right, so Steve,
Oh,
let's
that
do this.
stung a little bit.
To me, the Hoosiers can't get out of their own way. No leadership, soft to the basket, turnovers at the most inopportune time. You know, Xavier Johnson, he made free throws. I don't know here. The 5.4 seconds and not calling a timeout to set up a play and ending up with what, a 20-foot jumper from the top of the key does not seem to me to be the way you want to end the game, Steve.
The only thing I've ever told my players and any team that I've ever coached is 5 seconds to go, get the ball in, push it up court, and go right to the hole. Take the ball to the hole, and if you're getting double teamed or you've got somebody else has got to be open, parked on the block on the other side or something, or lob it up to a Trace Jackson. But don't play the game with 5 seconds to go from 25 feet out. Your percentages are incredibly low. Your highest percentage is to take it and play it from a foot to 2 feet out.
Yeah.
You either go to the hole, you get an opportunity to score, and or you get fouled.
Yeah, force the official to make a call.
Force the official to make the call for you and help you win the game. He's your sixth guy at that point in time. What are we thinking about? Lollygagging up the court with 6 seconds to go and then ending up with a fadeaway 20-foot jumper. It's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Now, I'm sorry here, but I've got to start holding some coaches accountable for some of these decisions that are being made at this point in the game. I mean, somebody needs to recognize that. And if we have timeouts, set up a play where you do a double screen down. You put Race Thompson on one block. You go and send him over to screen for Trace. Put him up just short in the center of the free throw line, or just short in between the bucket and that. And you take somebody and send him to Johnson and take him right to the hole. Send him to the hole. He's got options to dump, or he's got options to take it in and take the layup. I guarantee you he's going to get as whistle happy as these referees were tonight. Yeah. They're going to call something.
Yeah. One way or the other, something's going to be called. It may not be right, but it'll be called.
Yeah, yes, some whistle's going to blow at some point in time, but I just think to let them come down and think that you've got the defense off guard and things like that with that shorter period of time. You know, if you got 7, 8, 9, 10 seconds, I understand. Then you've got enough time to run a play or get the ball to the front court and take a look at what you got. But with 5 seconds to go, you need to get the ball to the bucket as fast as you can.
All right.
But we should have never been in that position. You know, we had a 5-point lead with 2 minutes to go?
Yeah, and as Joseph says, terrible last shot in regulation, but I think they played a decent game in regulation. The problem is this. In the Big Ten, playing a decent game on the road gets you beat.
They get it done.
Sebastian has a very good point. We don't know how to win games, and to me,
exactly.
This comes back to the weak-ass schedule at the start of the year where they're never tested, and now they've been thrown into the water, and the Sharks are after them, and the effort on this team, I mean, I'm never going to question the effort of Race Thompson. I'm not going to question Xavier Johnson. It's the execution. Race plays his ass off. Race is the best player on this team. If you gave me a choice between...
He's the hardest working player on this team.
Which makes him the best player on the team.
Best player, yeah. I mean, I still think athletically gifted-wise, Trace is a maybe, but I'm starting to question that, Mike. You're right. But he definitely is the hardest working player on this team, bar none.
Yeah, and I mean overall, I think they, as they usually do, they played 15 minutes of basketball in the 40 where they actually played well and they controlled the pace. The first half, they didn't control the tempo. In the last few minutes of the game, they didn't control the tempo. And controlling the tempo is huge to winning any game in any sport. Indiana doesn't do that. And I'm sorry. I mean, I love Mike Woodson. You know, somebody said tonight he's a classy guy. He is a classy guy. But at some point, we have to win games because that's what he's paid to do. As an Indiana fan, I like having Mike Woodson here because you know you don't have to worry about him, bitch slapping another team's coach. But when I look at this, Steve, I mean, this team was good enough to win this game, and they didn't get it done. Right now, you're 16-10. Now I think you're firmly entrenched on the bubble. Probably first four out or last or one of the last four in.
Yeah, well,
So
Mike, let me just say one thing. Here's what's great about tonight. Indiana went on the road against a quad one team, put themselves in position to win this game,
and then puked on themselves.
and then puked on themselves in a time when I thought coaching would be the most important thing that would be going on right there.
Well, Joe,
all the rocket surgeons that are sitting on the bench over there, all of them need to put their heads together and say, how do we wrangle this thing in and how do we control this so that we don't lose control of this?
All right, Joseph asked if we think that nut grab was worthy of a tee. I thought he was reaching for the ball. Isn't that what a nut grab is? He's reaching for the ball. I think it was. I think this. I think that the nut grab did get a tee. Joke. It was a double technical. So the nut grab was called. The swing was called. Who cares? It had no bearing on the game. There's no way that it should have been called a flagrant 1 or 2 for Indiana.
For either.
Yeah, well, let's face it. I mean, the IU player took a dive.
Yeah, he flopped.
He did, and he didn't get hit.
The big guy missed him. What was his name? Lindell?
Yeah.
Lindell missed the guy by about 5 inches on a swing. Yeah. I mean, if his arm's that big and the wind blew him down, but Johnson doesn't look like somebody like a good, strong gust is going to knock him down. So I think that was a no call. Let the guys play. All he was doing was clearing him off his body. He was getting mugged by Johnson. I mean, there's no call there. There's no call either way.
I mean, when you look at the play, I mean, it's just the officiating in the Big Ten is terrible. I don't think it cost Indiana the game because I think it's terrible on both sides. Most games
I agree.
See.
Yeah, I can't fault refereeing for favoring one team. That's for sure.
The thing to me that cost IU these games, field goal percentage 34.4. Now, the 34.4 is not the reason they lose. The reason for the 34.4 is because this offense is not run very well, Steve.
It's not run
at all.
And it's virtually no longer being run at all. I mean, early in the season and mid-season, they were running a pretty balanced offense. They were pushing the ball down inside. You had both your bigs, Thompson and Jackson, putting up close to 20 points a game each. Now you've got, horrible shooting from one or the other. Shooting from those two. What was it tonight?
Xavier Johnson was, I think, 3 for 12.
Xavier Johnson, 3 of 12. Race Thompson, 6 of 12. Trace Jackson, 3 of 9.
How can Trace Jackson in 38 minutes only get off 9 shots if he's your
9 shots in 38 minutes? I mean, and he's your dominant inside player. Is nobody recognizing that's happening on the bench? Is nobody?
I'll tell you what, though. In the last couple minutes of the game, Race Thompson is the one yelling for the ball. It's not Trace.
Oh yeah, you're right. And I mean, I'm seeing a team kind of internally self-destruct for whatever reasons. I'm not sure. I don't know. I just don't know.
Well,
I don't know where the continuity is where it's not, where it's lacking. I watched the Johnson as much as I could. I'm not a guard. I never played guard, so I don't know the intricacies of playing that position. But it seems to me that he made some good decisions late in the second half where They pushed the ball up. He got it across the line, and then he tried to back him out. And I'm like, slow it down now, slow down. You're not behind, or you're only one. Get a bucket, run an offense, and get a bucket. But then he goes from point guard once he crosses the half court line into being a scoring guard, and his mentality just becomes, I've got the ball in my hands, I'm going to be the one taking the shot. And tonight I thought that Trace Jackson kept getting pushed out and out and out to where his effectiveness goes away because he doesn't have a 15-foot jumper. He doesn't have someone he can rely on out there that people got to respect him out there and go get him. And then he uses his speed and his left-hand ability to go to the hole hard. And I just there's just little things that I see that I think any basketball person sees that's going on with his team. Because this is a team that should be solidly in the tournament now. There is no reason for them to be now definitely a bubble team now. If they weren't, in the game presentation they were showing tonight, they had them as a 12 seed. Whoever the latest prognosticator is, and nobody knows anything about that.
That was before tonight, right?
Yeah, that was during the game. It was during the game before they had lost.
Yeah.
But now they're running a 5-game winning streak. They're 2 games below 500 in the Big Ten. They're making the same mistakes over and over and over again. It's not turnovers. They only had 11 turnovers tonight?
Yeah, 11 turnovers.
11 turnovers. So it's not that. And I think Johnson had 5 of those in the first 7 minutes of the game. And after that, they handle the rock well. I just think that they're not controlling the tempo of this ball game. I don't know what happened to why were they shorthanded on players today?
I don't think it wasn't suspended.
Galloway wasn't even dressed. What happened to him?
No, I think it's I don't know. I mean,
I don't know why Galloway was not dressed.
As you know, we don't.
If anybody that's listening to us, all 2 of you, knows why Galloway wasn't dressed.
There's more than a lot, more than 2. So.
Okay.
We're not just on Facebook, and we don't promote Facebook until we share after the show, Steve. So.
Okay, there you go.
People hear you.
All right.
Go ahead.
I don't know. I think now Indiana's backs are entirely up against the wall, where they have to win out now. I think they have to win out.
I don't know if they have to win out, but they're going to have to win the majority, and that's going to be hard to do.
Well, they're going to have to win every game, and maybe give up Purdue, because that's just a brutal place to go play. And it will be for this, because if Purdue thinks they can put Indiana out of the tournament, that place is going to be rocking.
It's going to be rocking anyways, because they're probably going to be a number 1 seed in the tournament. And they actually have a legit shot to win it all this year.
Yeah, well, yeah, until they get in the tournament, and then Painter's got to coach.
Well, Painter got into an Elite 8. When's the last time we got to the Elite 8?
In 2002, I believe.
I think it was.
We
had the Sweet 16 against Kentucky.
In Atlanta, where they got beat by Maryland.
Yeah, that's sad. All right, so what we've got next, Indiana plays Maryland. That's a winnable game.
Well, are we done talking about this game? I mean, is there anything
I don't know.
You see as a coach that I'm missing? I mean, I don't want to blame anybody. It's just there's no continuity. I don't like the fact that with about 5 minutes to go, I watched the timeout, and there's Woodson and Race Thompson jawing at each other at a timeout. And maybe that's Mike's style. I don't know. I've not been around Mike as a coach. So possibly that's just his style.
Well, I can tell you this. There are guys that...
Yeah, there are coaches that do that.
Well, no, and this is the thing, because I won't let anybody do that with me if I'm coaching.
I would never let a player jaw
at me. But listen, there are some guys that I'm so close to that we know each other so well that we will start to get in each other's ass a little bit, but I will eventually tell him to shut up or he's not going back in the game.
That's me every show, no matter what show we're doing.
Yeah,
whether it's the Pick'em show,
I keep you in the game, though. I keep you in the game.
Huh?
I keep you in the game now.
You've benched me more times than not over the 7 years we've known
The
each
only time
other.
I benched you is when I didn't feel like doing any shows for a while, and then you took it that I was benching you, but I didn't.
Oh, okay.
And it's true, too, by the way.
Well, you didn't tell me you weren't.
All right, Joe's...
Lower body injury for Galloway.
There you go. Joe to the rescue. We know Fantasy's foot's hurt. It's been hurt for 14 years now.
Yeah.
And they really do need him back. But we'll go ahead. We'll look ahead to what's coming up here. If you want to bet on the next game, head over now and see for yourself. Betting.net makes it easy to find all the legal online casinos or sports books in your state. If you still want to talk about the game, we can.
Well, look at the stat sheet. Is there anything unique that's popping out?
Yeah, 34.4% field goal percentage. Ohio State, 48.1%.
Yeah.
You know, the mind-blowing thing here is IU shot 34%, Ohio State shot 48%, and IU had a chance to win the game at the end of the game.
Yeah, but I don't think IU or Ohio State got to 48%.
So they went on 48%
till the end of the game. I think because at one point I heard him say both teams were hanging right at about 40%, and both under, but right at around. Because they were pointing out that Indiana had the best Big Ten defense, a shooting percentage, a lowest opponent shooting percentage in the Big Ten up until tonight's game. I mean, I don't know. They may still have it.
So, I mean, when I look at it, nothing stands out except for that 34. Free throw shooting, 70.4, 8 misses. If you have 7 misses, you win the game. But 70% is better than what you usually get from them. But Ohio State did shoot 78%. So I would, I think the claim could be made that the difference here is also free throw shooting again, which is something we've harped on with Indiana since I think Steve Alford graduated.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, hell.
Dribble. Socks. What? What's it say?
Oh, then he'd wipe his shorts and
Socks, shorts, dribble, swish.
So maybe they should make everybody start doing that again.
Maybe they should, every practice, everybody just do socks, shorts, dribble, swish. But free throws didn't kill us tonight.
Well, it does when the other team makes 80%, you make 70%, you lose in overtime, though.
Right. Yeah, that's when it starts hurting. But, I mean, stat sheet-wise, the stat sheet's pretty close. I thought Indiana did a fabulous job of battling back late in the second half. Got the lead, actually, by 4 or 5 points. Just could not maintain it because they lost control of the tempo. Ohio State regained control of the tempo, and we just started flailing a little bit there, and we could not regain control of the tempo, and that didn't help. And then, we played so poorly in the overtime that Ohio State ends up making a 10-0 run on us in OT.
Yeah.
So, okay, this one, unless anybody's got anything they want to write in and tell us what we're missing, I think that there's a communication issue with this basketball team in multiple ways. I think we're not playing to our strengths, which is our inside game. That's hurting this basketball team right now. And I think that there's probably a little bit of lack of confidence right now. I mean, there's some great players here who are going to go through their entire IU career having never played in the tournament.
That seems to be something that's becoming more and more prevalent.
More and more I could never have fathomed that. I mean, I went to Indiana to win national championships.
Yeah, and the one time you didn't, you won the NIT.
Yeah,
or at least
2 of the 4 years there, we won a national tournament. I mean, it's that's why players go to Indiana. And we've got to get that back and the mentality. But before you can just start playing that, you've got to get that mentality. And this team doesn't even have that mentality.
No. And next up is, the next 2 games have to be won.
Yeah, where do we go? Where do we go from here?
We play Maryland. Maryland is coming off.
That's at home, right? That's at home.
It's at home, but Maryland is coming off a big win over Penn State tonight.
Yep.
They beat Nebraska at Nebraska. 3 games ago, they went to Purdue and lost by 1 point. And before that, they get the brakes beat off them by everybody for like 2 weeks. But Maryland is a team that plays hard. So if Indiana doesn't play hard, there's going to be an issue. And I don't see how they could survive losing either the Maryland or Minnesota game unless they were to beat Purdue. And I mean, that could happen. I don't rule it out because Purdue has lost at home, I think, this year, and they almost lost to Maryland at home. But when I look at this, hopefully you'll get the four guys back healthy. But even without those guys, they proved tonight they should be able to handle Maryland. They should be able to handle Minnesota. Um, Minnesota, I think, is 12-11. Maryland's below 500. So if you lose either one of these, then that kind of cancel out a quad one win you had earlier because you're losing to teams that are that bad.
Yeah.
So this has got to be a game where they come out. They got to play their best game Thursday night. Because if you lose to Maryland, you're 16-11 going to Minnesota, and you still got to go to Purdue.
And you're 7-10 in the Big Ten.
Yeah. And how many teams?
And they don't favor teams with sub 500 percentage wins. Winning records in your league play.
How about this? How many teams have made the tournament with a losing record in the Big Ten?
I don't think very many. I mean, not unless you do incredibly well in the Big Ten tournament, or you win the Big Ten tournament even so much. So I think it's very hard to do. They're getting themselves into the point to where there's a point of no return if they're not careful here very quickly. They like I said, I think the only game that's plausible that they could lose and get away with is the Purdue game. And they have to have won everything decisively by then. Get themselves back to 500.
It would help to be competitive in that game, too.
And it would help to be competitive in that game, yes. At least be competitive. Play them to the wire. And then go into the Big Ten tournament. They're going to have to win at least one game in the Big Ten. And it'd be nice to beat a quad one team in the Big Ten if they can get to it. But do we play any quad one teams left?
Purdue. But the other two.
Purdue's the only quad one team we
Maryland
have.
and Minnesota are like quad 9.
Yeah, that's what makes this tonight such a golden opportunity. Ohio State's a legitimate quad one team. They're a top 4 regional seed right now, and we helped them there. And it was a quad one win on the road, which I think would have gone a long way to locking us in to the tournament.
All right, how about this? In the tournament's history, well, for more than a quarter of a century, 44 teams have earned at-large bids with a conference record of below 500. The most to ever do it in 1 year or 3. So it's not something that is normal. You may have 1 or 2 teams, but my guess is those 1 or 2 teams have got really good strength of schedule on top of what they have. Indiana's strength of schedule, and I still wish we would have had a little bit tougher schedule. I'm going to quit harping on that because there's not a damn thing we can do about that now.
Nothing we can do about that now.
But,
that's over and done with. I think that'll be rectified next season.
Well, we'll see.
I think Mike truly wants to play a tougher schedule. I know how competitive Mike is. I think he definitely wants to be more competitive, play more competitive. I think he sees a lot of these problems too that are going on. I'm sure he's frustrated as all can be about what's going on. But I'm always a person who says, don't come to me with your problems. You know, as a manager, when I managed advisor for 20 years, I told people, don't come to me with your problems. Come to me with your problems, but come with a solution first. So I want to hear your solution to your problem. And then we'll workshop your solution, not your problem.
Yeah, right now Indiana's 9th in the Big Ten at 7-9. The scary thing is Penn State's 10th at 6-10. Maryland's 5-11. Hell, you could end up being 11 for 12th place. I don't think they will, and I really do believe they'll beat Maryland and Minnesota. And if they do that and lose to Purdue, I think you can still make the NCAA tournament by winning a game or 2 in the Big Ten tournament.
I agree. Yeah, it's not lost. They're not out. No. Tonight was just and they played themselves into that opportunity. That's what's heartbreaking for these kids and this coaching staff is that they played themselves into an opportunity. They didn't go out and get blown out. You know, first half they held the tempo really well. You know, they controlled what was going on in the court, and as usual, they come out the second half and they get into a different mentality and mindset. I cannot figure that out yet as to why they do that.
Well, Joseph Michael says, I think Steve hit the nail on the head. You have to put this game on coaching up 4 with a minute to go, and you have the last shot and don't set anything up. It's hard to argue with.
I know it's hard to argue with it. I mean, like I said, I don't know Mike's coaching philosophy, so not like I've sat and talked to him about it for a long period of time, or watched him in practice and see how he prepares for these situations in games. But we don't seem prepared to handle
No.
this situation, this overtime situation.
Well,
To
the last 5 minutes
get
of a
outscored.
game situation.
Yeah, last 5 minutes of the game when you're protecting a lead. You're not nursing a lead. You want to protect the lead. You want to stay offensive minded. You want to go after it. You want to play hard. You want to make good shots at all costs. What's in your favor is the clock, because take all 30 seconds or whatever time you get off a shot clock in college. Was it 35
30, I think.
now?
Yeah. 30 or
Yeah,
35.
I don't know, but you want to use as much of that as you can, and you don't want to sit there and run it down to 33 and then fire up a fadeaway 20-foot jump shot. You want to take as much of that time, run your offense, get the ball to what dance with the ones that bring you, dump it inside, let those guys get the ball to the hole, get them on the line, and go from there. And stay with that. You want to be very aggressive in that 4 or 5 minutes, because Ohio State's going to be aggressive
See, I think
because they're
that's the
behind.
difference. I think that's the difference. I mean, at the end of the game, same thing with Wisconsin. Last minute had the lead, blew the lead. To me, Wisconsin and Ohio State are teams that played like their hair was on fire. You know the old saying, the guy runs around like his hair is on fire. They play exceedingly hard and even harder in that situation. Where
Right.
Indiana, I think,
Softens
plays
up.
at the same. I don't know if they soften out. I think they just
No,
continue to play at the same level,
same
and the other
level.
team
Yeah.
elevates. They do not have the ability yet to elevate their game.
We don't see the first charge coming and withstand it. We let them come right through break our ranks, and then we lose control of the game, and then you get outscored 10-0 in overtime.
Oh yeah, I
I mean,
forgot. We do have Rutgers yet too. So it's
oh,
Maryland at
good. Let's play
home,
that team. I'm looking forward to that.
Maryland at home,
The
Minnesota on the
giant
road,
killers in the
Rutgers at
Big
home.
Ten right now.
But I think it also gives you the chance here. I don't know if it's a quad one win yet, but it's probably a quad two at least. But I think if you could run Maryland, Minnesota, and then beat Rutgers, I think you get in the tournament, because also those 3 straight wins, even if a Purdue loss, put you at 500 in the Big Ten at 10-10. You've got you've got a win over Purdue. You'd have a win over Rutgers. I mean, we got a couple other ones there. They all kind of run
Yeah.
together. I don't remember who the hell we beat now. It just doesn't seem like we've ever won a game anymore.
Well, it's been 5 since. We come out in the second half. We outscore OSU by 5 points. And then we get outscored 17-6 in overtime. I mean, that's nut crunching time in overtime, baby.
Hey, don't say that. That dude got his nuts crunched tonight during the game.
Yeah, well, Johnson tried to.
As you can say, that'd be a sore spot for that young man.
Sore spot
tonight,
for that
probably.
for Liddell. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, now we are. What's the record? 16-11, 17-11. I think it's 16.
We are 16-11, I believe.
Yeah, 16-11. So the problem is this: 5 games ago, we were sitting at 16-6, and everything looked fine. And then Illinois blows us out at home. Northwestern beats us by 8. Michigan State blows us out. Wisconsin beats us by 5 in a game we actually had to lead with a minute or two left. And then we have to lead by 4 with approximately a minute left and lose by 11 in overtime. So the one good thing is, I don't think they've lost any bad teams. Northwestern, you had some extenuating circumstances. But
that in itself is another story. How does that happen?
How does what happen?
How do the players not respect the importance of going up and winning every game right now and decide to go partying or break curfew on a road trip to Chicago? See,
all right, you want my honest opinion of this? And I hate to say this, but my honest opinion is this. Players that do stuff like that, usually don't respect their coach.
Mike, I've got to tend to agree with you to some degree there. If
And
they don't respect
I
the
do
coach,
not know what these young men did to get suspended. If I
I don't
knew,
either.
I mean, maybe it would make it different. But I know this. I mean, on the teams I've coached, especially the last 15, 20 years, the only rule that we have is the do right rule. Do right all
Do
the
the right
time.
thing.
If you're doing wrong, you know you're doing wrong. If
Right.
you do wrong and it hurts this team, then there's consequences to pay. So what that tells me is this, Steve. When you're 2/3 of the way through the season and this happens,
Yeah.
that tells me there's a good chance that something, maybe not as big, happened earlier in the year, and maybe nothing was done about it. Now, this is pure conjecture. I love Mike Woodson. I'm glad he's the basketball coach.
I am
I'm
too.
not going to sit here and
I
rip
love
him,
Woody. Woody's a
but
good
uh,
friend. I mean,
yeah,
I
and
think
I
he's a
mean,
good friend. He
and
probably hates me now.
he doesn't hate you now, Steve. He doesn't give two shits what we say on this show. He
Thanks. Now
doesn't.
you hurt my feelings.
Well, I mean, he doesn't. I mean, if you're an actual real coach, you don't sit there and worry about what two doofuses from Indiana and LA think about your
Well,
team,
I'm a
even
teammate.
if you know them. It doesn't matter. You're not now, you're a doofus because you're talking about it instead of doing it. So that makes you a doofus.
There you
So,
go. I
not that
buy
he
that.
thinks you're a doofus, but when you're on here, you're a
He thinks
doofus.
I'm a doofus.
But the thing is this. I mean, you got a ring. He doesn't. I'm just kidding. He would have had one if he'd have just been born a year later. Damn, you may not have got to play if Woody had been on that team, Steve.
Ifs
Good
and
thing.
nuts.
Good
If is
thing
the middle word in life,
Good
isn't
thing
it?
he graduated. You and Jimmy Thomas wouldn't have been near as special.
No, we
But
probably wouldn't have, but I still
but
got
that's
my
all right.
ring.
Yes.
Anyway, move
It's a
on.
great
Don't I
ring.
don't
But
want to.
yeah,
I don't
so
even.
I
I don't even
mean,
want to make fun of this anymore.
this
I'm
is
sick about this.
conjecture. It's conjecture, but and I mean it may be nothing, but hell, sometimes if you got somebody that's doing something they shouldn't do before a game you need to win, sometimes you're better off without them altogether.
I Knight made that clear. You know, he never let any one player get above the needs of the team. Never once did he
Yeah.
ever do that.
And I still say this. I still think Woods is the right guy. We just got to give
No,
him
I
a
do too.
chance.
No, I'm not. I'm not killing Knight
Yeah.
or Woody and not knocking Woody. I'm just saying the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results.
Yeah.
I mean, when's the last time Kopp shot anywhere near 500 in a basketball game? Yet he continues to start.
Yeah.
Now,
Well,
maybe tonight it's out of necessity because they seem short-handed.
yeah, they were short 4 players.
They were short for so. I mean, I get
But
that.
you know what? I mean, this is the thing, though. You know what my dad used to tell me? Nobody cares. Just go play the game and win the damn thing. Figure it out.
No, you're right.
I mean,
You're
because
right.
if
You're right.
I use losing those 4 players for that big a difference in this game would have not have went to overtime. They would have just got their doors blown off right away.
Yeah.
And I don't think from watching this team that I'm going to make the claim that if those 4 guys would have played, that they'd have won, because those 4 guys have played over this 5-game losing streak. Except for Rob Fennessy. I think Rob Fennessy would be huge to get back, especially if you could get him back by the time you play Rutgers or something.
Just for the senior experience in the ball control.
Yeah. Just because, I mean, I think he's a kid that plays hard.
Yeah.
And we saw against Purdue. He's a guy that can make that shot at the end of the game to win you the game. I don't know how many other guys on this team really want to take that shot.
And it's easy to be an armchair quarterback. So, all right, we've discussed it until we beat it into the ground. We're working on dead horses. We've talked about the pathway forward. Basically, they've got to win out. I think, with the exception of possibly Purdue, if they win everything else.
Yeah, they beat Rutgers. I think they might be all right.
Yeah, and they need to make a good showing. They cannot be one and done in the Big Ten tournament.
No.
And that's
the only way they could go one and done, Steve, is if they win these last 4 games.
If they win them all, including beating Purdue.
Yeah, they beat Rutgers and Purdue. They win 4 straight games. They win those 4
go
games.
one and done.
They're 11-9 in the Big Ten, and everything's fine. I think this team is completely capable of doing that. I don't think they will. But I do believe this team could go 3-1 over the last 4 and get in.
Yeah, I agree.
So, and I do
All
believe
right.
if you get in and you got Rob Finney and he's healthy, you might be able to win a game or two.
All right. You on a quick note, do you want to give everybody an update on the Juwan Howard situation? I'm sure everybody's heard it by now, but
Well,
let's just
since the Big Ten is spineless, they suspended him for 5 games.
well, the Big Ten
That's
didn't
all
do
I
anything. Michigan did.
Michigan, yeah.
The Big Ten just put out a statement saying, we expect all of our players and coaches to uphold to athletic and sportsmanship conduct.
Last night Michigan
That's all
said,
they did.
Michigan last
And
night
the
said
NCAA had no comment.
Michigan last night said they wanted to see what the Big Ten said. So I think it's always possible the Big Ten told Michigan what the suspension was going to be.
But as I felt true, because it was Michigan, who was a cash cow to the NCAA, they had no comment. They never even raised their eyebrows on this thing. Big Ten simply puts out a statement, a blanket statement that says we expect all of our players. And Michigan came out and made what I thought was a gutsy call for Michigan. It's more than I expected based on our show we did earlier today on Surviving Advance. Huh?
Gutsy's firing him.
Well, I'm not sure that's not going to happen at the end of the season. I don't know.
Hold on. We got Joe. Joe, you're wrong. Couple player suspensions too, which I don't.
Yeah,
which I don't
there
agree
were
with.
a couple player suspensions.
There was players that threw punches. There were players that they were following their coach's lead. That's fine. But the problem is this: in an organization that's a Division I college basketball team that you send your kids to, for those coaches to basically, take care of your kids. I mean, I know they're following their coach's lead, but isn't it time to get rid of a coach who leads kids into a fight?
Well played. Touche.
And the thing is this, with those kids.
Well, there were kids from each team suspended.
Yeah, those kids. This is the thing. Wisconsin, Greg Gard and Juwan Howard both need to have their asses kicked because they're both assholes. Both teams act like assholes. So I don't really care, to tell you the truth. I just think it's a joke that this is allowed to continue. Hell, I watched the way Wisconsin plays. That's a little questionable too. So
They're physical ball club.
I can see how they could get under Michigan's skin. But we all know Juwan Howard did this just because he got his ass whooped. That's life, Juwan. Grow the hell up.
Anyway,
you know what? I was thinking if Juwan Howard wants to bitch slap anybody for taking a timeout, it should be freaking Chris Webber.
Yeah, who called a timeout?
Yeah, when he didn't have it. Lost in the 93 championship. That's the game.
Championship, yeah.
That's when you smack a dude.
All right.
You smack Chris Webber. I mean, what the hell?
Let's end this on a serious note.
That is a serious note. I thought it was
serious.
A good comment.
It is.
I thought that was excellent. And
Mike,
also,
when will we be back on the air? Thursday?
We'll be back on the air Thursday night after Indiana smacks the crap out of Maryland. Also, I believe our NFL show will be Wednesday night, Steve. Does that sound good?
Sounds great.
Okay, I think that's what Dan told me. So Wednesday night at 8 o'clock, the NFL show. Make sure you check us out there. We're going to talk about the coaching situation, Brian Flores, everything that's going on in the NFL. Maybe a little Daniel Snyder. He's always fun. That's
not to forget too that my new esteemed colleague Joseph Michael and I are going to start a NASCAR show.
Yeah, but you can't really plug it until you know which day.
Thursday or Friday. That was his schedule that he needed to work on. So I'm trying to give him some leeway. He is
Come on, Joe, get with the program.
He is a police officer and a first line protector of everybody, and that takes precedent over everything.
Don't say that.
That we do.
Now people will know he's a police officer. They're liable to come after him.
I respect.
He's famous now because he's going to be with you on a show, so everybody's going to know.
I'm honored to be on the air with him more than I am you.
No, you're not.
What are you? Coach some team called the River Rats.
The River Rats.
Wasn't that what they were?
Well, I have coached like 38 guys that have made it to the NFL too. That's not too bad.
All right, good for you.
Blow it out your ass, Risley.
I coached 2 guys that became Mr. Basketballs in Indiana.
Yeah, but nobody cares. It's basketball.
And Randy Gregory, who became a
pothead
and a defensive tackle for the. It is what it is. All right, let's get off the air.
All right, guys, we're gonna wrap it up.
Thanks for listening, guys.
We'll be back next Thursday night Or no,
This
this
Thursday
Thursday night after the Indiana-Maryland game, approximately 20, 25 minutes after the game. Make sure you check us out there. You can follow Steve Risley at srisley34. Make sure you check out him and Joseph Michael's NASCAR show. So
Coming this week.
What are you guys naming the show?
The NASCAR show. You got on me for giving them
There
funky
you go.
names.
Well, I mean, I don't like gimmicky. You see NASCAR show, you know it's what? It's a NASCAR
It's
show.
a NASCAR show. The Grueling Truth presents the NASCAR show.
All right.
Look for
And
it.
I want to warn Joe, too. Since you're probably the smarter of the two at NASCAR, he will be the host. But don't ever call yourself the host, Joe, because then Steve will give you all kind of shit about, well, I'm a host, too. So you
Joe's
have to
going to
call
be the
yourself
host.
a co-host.
I've already delegated that to him.
Is he allowed to call himself the host, or does he have
He's
to call
allowed to
himself
call himself the host.
Well, that's sweet. I've never been allowed to do that. All right, guys.
I am the color person.
Yeah. All right, guys. We're going to wrap the show up. So follow Steve Risley at srisley34. You can follow me at Grueling Truth. But for now, for Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been watching and listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.
I got one thing to say.
It's too late.
Go IU.
Okay. Maybe it came through.